And welcome back to replay analysis. And today we're doing Marilla versus Golf. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones? I'm not funny, I know, I'm sorry. I almost laughed at my own joke really hard right there, but I decided to dial it back a notch. Okay, guys. So this is platinum level. This is plat. We got some platinum Protoss versus Terran. I'm not high, I swear. Platinum Protoss versus Terran. Yeah. Let's do it. And everything's looking great so far. Probe went down and built the gateway. I would say, if you want me to be really nitpicky, maybe like 1 second later on that probe. The only reason why I say that is because it's just a trial and error sequence where you have to kind of guesstimate how much money you're going to mine from where you move your probe to where it needs to go. So, for example, again, this is not a big deal. I'll just touch on it really fast and we'll move on. This is for everybody to honestly learn from this because I feel like people mess this up all the time. But like right now, there's two factors here, right? First factor is how much money do you have? I would say this is actually appropriate. Having 130 minerals in the bank to move from here to here is totally appropriate. But moving 4 seconds before the pylon is done that's maybe a bit too early because it's not going to take 4 seconds to go from here to here. It's going to only take like maybe 1 second. So that's where I would say just be careful about when you're pulling a probe. Not the hugest deal, honestly. But I will say, long story short, having your probe in position is better than now going, oh, well, now we have a late gateway. Now I pull a probe and go down there after the pylon's already done. So I would say the way you did it, I liked it better, Marilla. But, yeah, I mean, I would say just always keep in mind how to do it perfect. It'll just make things easier for you in the future. But again, I'll move on from this. This is not a big deal. You did it pretty good overall. I give you a 4 out of 5, the way you executed that. Could be a little bit better, but still really good. You did it better than the alternative, which would be just doing it late. Okay. And then you go to scout your opponent's base. Tiger mom vibe. Perfect! I need perfection. Nothing is ever good enough. Alright, so you got your Nexus going down. That was perfect. That was 5 out of 5 execution right there. The way you microed that probe and sent it to build your Nexus, the way you sent it, when you sent it, how you did it, that was 5 out of 5. Round of applause. That was really good. I'm proud of your Nexus placement. That couldn't have been any better. Okay. And now we got a saving up for a core. Throw the core down. Great. Really good again. You're scouting the base, and you saw a Rax, 1 gas, command center, orbital command, and you now see an SCV going down to the natural. Looking like this guy is going to expand. Game of Thrones is going to throw down a command center. Your build so far is fine. Make sure you're not missing probes. Okay, you missed about like 1 second on a probe there. Not that big of a deal. You have the right idea, though. Okay, that is... What did you do there? Hold on, that looked weird. I want to watch that again. When did you first chrono boost? Good. I liked it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. It's super good. Very, very nice. Amazing gameplay. Super good so far. You're killing it. I'm watching your Nexus very closely right now. Very good. Okay, that's the Nexus and that's the core. This is very good. This is not bad. This is expected. You're getting a core and a Nexus down at the right time, so no fault there. Probe right after you make the core, though. Good. Okay, that is again good. You fix your mineral as well. Super good. 5 out of 5. This, I don't like this one though. So I would say this. This is where it got fucked up a little bit. 5 out of 5 Mostly, the 4 out of 5 on your gateway, 5 out of 5 on everything else, and now this I don't like. Let me explain why. You don't... So what you're doing right now is you are disrupting your mineral line once again for the pylon, and you don't actually need to do that with a mineral probe. You should actually be doing one of two things. You should be taking a gas probe to build the pylon, or you should be telling your new probe that's going to be on the next gas to build the pylon. And here's the reason why. This is the reason why. This is why I don't like this. If you pull off a probe right now off of the mineral line at this stage of the game, it doesn't do anything for you about preventing a supply block. Because if you built a pylon with a probe that was on the gas, you would still not supply block and it would not disrupt your minerals. And right now you need as many minerals as possible to maximize your mining. So what you're doing right now is you're missing between 5 and 10 minerals just with the probe that is being pulled off the mineral line to build this pylon, because you have to wait for a second as well because you don't even have enough money to do it. But that's not even the biggest reason why I don't like this. The reason why I don't like this is because you're going to build a pylon before you need it so that you don't supply block. But you're disrupting your mineral income to do it. But what's going to happen is if you don't have enough money to do it already and your probe is already almost done on the Nexus, you're going to fucking stop building probes. This is why I thought this looked weird. I was like, wait, what just happened just now? The goal is as soon as your core is done, you never stop making probes again. You like constantly pump probe if you're doing a 1 gate expand. So you're cutting probes to make a pylon and then you chrono boost. So what you basically do there is you waste your chrono boost because you're wasting time on probe production to then speed it up later by using your cooldown of chrono. If you just didn't lose probe production, it would be the same thing as delaying and then chronoing, but then you'd have a free chrono in the bank ready to go. So the goal, what you should be doing is you shouldn't be chrono boosting your Nexus until after your pylon is done. And then on top of that, you don't actually supply block because you don't build probes at such a quick pace that you'll block your supply before the pylon's done. Because 2 probes takes longer to build than 1 pylon. And if you start your pylon right at 22 supply, that is 24 seconds of probing versus 18 seconds of a pylon. Because a pylon is only 18 and a probe is 12 per probe. And if you start making a pylon right at 22, you won't skip probes because you're still maintaining probe production. And you have 6 seconds after probe 22 in the Nexus is started to where you still won't supply block. So that's why this is huge to not go out of order here, because again what happens is you save right now for the pylon, you build the pylon, and now your probe caps out and you don't have a probe in production anymore. And then eventually you start it later. And then now you chrono boost to make up those like 4 seconds or 5 seconds that you didn't build a probe for. And now you chrono early before the pylon's done. When in reality, your pylon and your Nexus should be making your 23rd probe. Like it should be popping out to get ready to start probe number 24 right at the same time as the pylon finishes to unlock your supply to go above 23. And then you chrono boost. So again, all I'm saying is that you're getting the same outcome of where you want to be in probes around 23 supply either way. But you're burning your chrono boost to do it the way you did it because you cut early build pylon and then go back to building probes again. And the only reason why you feel like you need to build a pylon so early is because you're chronoing before the pylon's done. And you don't want to do it that way. Chrono boost the Nexus after the pylon's done at the same time as you chrono boost the gateway to make your Stalker. Or your Adept or whatever you want to make. Stalker is a good choice for defensive play. So that was everything about your opener was 5 out of 5. Really, honestly, like even the gateway was, you had the right intentions. I'm going to give you a 5 out of 5 on the gateway now. Because that's the less relevant point. It's not as important now. The way you do the pylon and the probe cut, that is important. Don't do that anymore. If you do that every game. That actually slows you down. Because you get to the same place, but you burn a chrono boost to do it for no reason. And now you're chronoing probes. I love it. On 2 Nexus. You're making your Robo and your Gateway during the time that you make a Sentry. I love it. It's 5 out of 5. Very good. Nice scout. Your build up to this point now, again, is looking great. I love it. The only thing I would recommend that you... or honestly, no. I was about to say you could make a shield battery, but we're platinum level at this moment in time. So I'm okay with the fact that you haven't built a battery yet. That's okay, actually. Platinum League, this is acceptable.
Research complete.
Now you see a bunker. You see a scout. Or sorry, your scout sees a bunker. You see a command center that's you already confirmed earlier. You see a reactored barracks.
Time for a timing push.
Definitely make sure you scout in the main, though. I feel like that was kind of a miss scout right there because you didn't scout anything in the main. So and you're running out of time on this Phoenix now too. So, okay, that was okay. So from now on, your scout needs to be improved. That was definitely a missed opportunity right there. You have no idea if this guy is going for lots of production. You have no idea if he's going for a third base. There's no read here for you at all. That is very important. So if we go back to your scout when it first shows up at the base. So you throw it over right now. The way I would tell you to scout this, honestly, would be something like this. This is what I would tell you to do if I was coaching you, like sitting next to you, being like, okay, you should micro it this way instead. I would tell you to move your Phoenix more north than it is right now and run or fly the Phoenix like the way you leave the base, enter the base that way. Literally go in the base this way. So what you can do is you can like fly like right here. Not only can you check and see if there's a really greedy third going down at the third, as you pass by right here, like I'm going to tell you right now, 99 times out of 100, you will not see a third base at this point in the game. You just won't. But you might every once in a while, and you might be like, holy fuck, this guy is so greedy, and you'll know that early, which is nice. But if you go up this way, the reason why you go up this way is because you're going on the outside of the natural. So you're not flying directly into the bunker either, which is almost always going to exist. Because what you want to do is you want your Phoenix to fly in this area right here to not only check the third, but also check the gases of the natural. This is huge because the faster the gas exists at the natural, the more your opponent is doing a tech build. Because if you think about it, what are you doing? Mineral, then gas. What if your opponent goes gas, then minerals? What if your opponent has 2 fully saturated gases and 6 SCVs on the mineral line? You already know the chances of you probably needing to make more stalkers are much higher now because your opponent might be doing starport units like a BC or some shit or Banshees or something like that. He also might be going mech focused. He might be going for tanks and stuff like that. But that's also what you're going to do when you further scout into his base with your Phoenix. You're going to get a further confirmation with that. You just know that if it's a if it's a gas focused build before a mineral, it's a tech focused build. Otherwise, it's just really inefficient. So it's huge to scout the gases. So if you went up and around like this, like you just go up into the base like that, that's great. And then as you cross over the mineral line, not only are you looking at the resource allocation, like what yours is, if it's like yours, it means it's a mineral focused build, which means it's probably going to be bio and expansions and stuff like that. More normal. But if you cross over, you can see the allocation of resources, and you can also even see what kind of an army your opponent has at the doorway, because the range of a Phoenix vision is actually like that big. It's quite large. If the Phoenix was in the middle of that box, that's about how big a Phoenix could see things on the screen. So if you're flying like right there, you could easily see down to like right there, like down to that area to see where the bunker is and stuff like that, right? So you're flying in deeper into the base, and as you go into the base further, once you get into the main base by about like 4 minutes, we'll speed it up now to when your Phoenix got here.
Research complete.
So like right about now, if your Phoenix was flying over this way, and let's say by like 4:05 you scouted the main base, look at what you could have seen at 4:05. You could have seen 111 with a engineering bay, and that's huge information for you. And why is that huge information for you? That tells you that your opponent is going for a very standard build. And it tells you your opponent is not going for like 3 racks with Marauders or like 5 racks really early, and he's going to do some crazy ass all in. It also tells you he's not going like double factory really fast, and he's not going to do some weird mech timing really fast. It also tells you he's not right now he's not rushing like the fastest battlecruiser he can possibly have or something like that, because he doesn't even have a tech lab on the starport, nor does he have a fusion core or anything like that started yet. Like this just gives you. This doesn't tell you his whole build entirely. It just tells you that this guy is not having the ability to like really attack you crazy hard right now. The expansion helps tell you that as well, but it's just important to know. It's important to get like a read on what is capable from your opponent. And right now, this is what I would tell you is capable out of your opponent. If you were to look at the fact that he goes 1-1-1 and he does not have an add-on here, I would say more often than not, your opponent is probably going to do something to you, like take a third base in this situation and play defensive, and he's just playing standard, or maybe he's going to do like a medevac drop to you. Like, and he's going not all in you, but he's going to harass you. Like maybe all of a sudden you're going to have a tank and Marines dropped in your mineral line and your base like in the next 2 minutes. Or maybe he drops Marines in a Widow Mine in your mineral line. Or you know, maybe probably not going to be Hellion Cyclone. Or sorry, probably not going to be Hellion or Widow Mine very much, only because it's a tech lab on the factory. But you could argue, well, what if he has an armory, and what if it is Widow Mines with drilling claws? Things like that. It's important to get a read on what you probably think this means, and I would say, without having to think about all the possibilities, I would say something that is intimidating about this build that you should probably pay attention to is medevac drop potential. Simple as that. So how could you deal with that? What could you do in your build to react to that and go, well, how do I now change my build in a way to defend this? I would say make one pylon right there. Make one pylon right there. And what that does for you is it gives you more vantage point, more vision of medevacs that could drop your base before they get in your base. Because if this is a medevac drop and you don't do that and he flies right in here and you have no idea, and then suddenly as he's like approaching the mineral line right there, he comes in vision of your gas, and you're like, oh god, I now have only like 1 second to react. When if you had a pylon way over here and you saw the medevac out there, you could have had like 5 seconds or 6 seconds to react. Much easier to react that way. Gives you more time to not lose probes. So, huge missed opportunity to not scout the main. Definitely need to make sure you're doing that, because as you grow as a player as well, it's only going to get even more important to read builds and scout the main. In Platinum League is when you really need to start doing it, I would say. Okay, and then you move your army forward and you're setting up your immortals and stuff like that, and your stalkers. You made an observer second. I love it. Making more units. So you made pylons around your base. I like that you're filling in the dark spots, but I would definitely say put it further to the edge if you really want to be really safe about it. But again, you don't know what build it is. But if you knew it was the potential of medevac drop, you want to have this pylon out as far as possible to give you as much vision as possible to react. Because you don't actually care about this pylon. This pylon is like, I lost the pylon? Oh, rebuild it. Who cares? Like, you don't even know it's gone. It'd be like saying you have like $1,000 in the bank and someone stole 50 cents from you. You're like, what? Did I lose 50 cents? I didn't know that. What you actually care about, though, is if this guy gets into the mineral line and kills a bunch of probes. That's actually... That'd be like saying you have $1,000 in the bank and someone just fucking hijacked your account and took $400 from you. Like, that's actually substantial if these probes die. And you do not want that to happen, right? That's so much more damaging to you than losing a fucking pylon. Pylon doesn't matter at all. So easy to replace that. So having it more exposed is totally acceptable. You'd rather lose a pylon than probes, for sure. But other than that, you're doing a good job. You're spending your money. You're keeping probe production up pretty well for the most part. I'm not going to say it's not perfect. It's really hard. It's disclaimer alert. It's almost impossible to play perfect the whole game. Barely anyone can do that. Like pros even struggle to do that. So it's very, like for Platinum, you're doing great. In terms of your build, your macro development, it's great.
The probes are falling.
Okay, so he's got a scout there. I would say that's kind of scary. Be careful about this in the future. And the reason why I tell you that is, if you start playing people who know how to abuse you, here's what can happen to you in the future of StarCraft 2 games. If one Marine, this Marine is a scout. It is a scout. Through and through, it is nothing other than a scout. Now, if this Terran player thinks to himself, there's no Nexus here at the third base, and I'm currently getting ready to attack the Protoss. I'm getting ready to harass the Protoss. If he has one Marine that kills your probe, and then he thinks to himself, let's just see, hypothetically, if this Protoss sends their entire army to kill my Marine that's denying a probe. What if Terran had an army sitting right there right now? Like, and we're not even talking about something that's designed to kill you. It's something that's designed to harass you. Like, we're talking about, what if it was 4 Hellions? What if it's 8 Marines and a medevac? What if it's like 2 Banshees? Something harass-based. Because you know your opponent's not loading you because they expanded, but they still can harass you. Now, if you send your entire army down to kill one Marine, and he sees your army killing one Marine, like that, what if he attacks your mineral line when it's exposed now, and you end up losing one probe here at your fourth base, which you want to expand with, and you want to expand, so you want to get rid of that Marine, but one stalker could have done the job, right? But now, as you come kill this Marine, what if you lose another 10 probes? And then you run your entire mineral line away, as you have to now run back to guard the probes again. That's when you start falling apart as a player. So I would say, be very careful about how you move your army around, and if you have a little scout at your base, send a little scout of your own to go kill it. Like send one stalker or maybe 2 stalkers to go kill that Marine. Because again, who gives a fuck about selecting an army every time you do anything? Just go, okay, green box 2 units and go, hey, move down there. And forget about them. And then send another probe to go down there and expand. And then if you end up seeing a real army attacking you with your 2 stalker scout, you can then be like, okay, everybody get together. Let's go fight that. But all you're doing right now is you're exposing yourself to get fucking owned on your middle line right now. So it's very scary to do that to yourself. Start getting more comfortable green boxing and sending units around your base. Be like, hey, you go there. Hey, you go there. Hey, you go there. It'll make your life way easier in the long run. If you think about not letting your base be exposed. Because again, why do you need to defend this so hard right now? This is so much less value than this. It's the same thing that we said before, right? What if this pylon dies? It's like 50 cents in the bank account. Who even knows? What if this dies? That is game ending. If you lose that, that is game ending damage that you'll take. So this should be defended right now. Your army should actually be like right there. And then you should have literally like maybe 1 unit over here. Or 2 units. Or maybe build a pylon right there. To give you vision. You should not have your army defending the new base. This is so scary. And like, your army should be one of 2 locations. It should either be right here. And the only reason why I say it should be right here is because you have no vision of anything on the outside of your base. Or it should be right here. But if your army was right here in the heart of your base, you should have something giving you vision, which is like an observer, a stalker, a pylon, like maybe 1 pylon like over here, 1 pylon like right there, and 1 pylon like right there. You need to have spotters. You have no spotters, and if you don't use spotters, you're going to run into opponents who are going to punish you all the time. You want to invest a little bit of money so that you don't lose a lot of money, essentially. Like spend 300 minerals so that you don't lose 3,000. Because if you don't spend the 300 minerals to cover and your opponent does somehow push this area when you're out of position, suddenly you just lost 3,000 and it's way more damaging than just making a couple pylons. But if you have a pylon like over there, and let's say Terran's walking right there and he runs into the pylon and kills it, you now have time to go back and defend that base before your probes die. You need to spot with something. Or you need to just make your army more centralized against the more exposed base. Like where you are now, that's good. I like where you just moved to. I did not like that you were down here. I did not like that at all. Because you're over defending a base that is very replaceable. This is irreplaceable. This is very replaceable. This is irreplaceable up here. And you're not defending that at all. But now you kind of are. Because now if an attack comes here and you react right away, you can actually get, while the Terran goes from here to here, you can go from here to here as well. And you can get right into the Terran's face. So you're not super exposed anymore. And then you're scouting again. Let's see what you do with the scout. And then now the Terran's hitting this base. And look, like, I guarantee this is going to happen. You can defend this base and not even lose it because you're here. Now, if you had a spotter, you could have seen this coming before it happened. And you could have invested 100 minerals to have a better fight. Because if let's say you had a pylon there and the Terran kills your pylon right here and he pushes forward, you actually have high ground advantage. Your army is right here when he's right there. Then that suddenly is, if the fight is better for you like that right off the start, you're going to take a fight initiation that is worth more than 100 minerals of value. Like you might kill an extra 4 Marines because you get a free shot on high ground vision. As opposed to having to engage an army that is already concaved out against your nexus with a tank sieged behind it. But again, you just ran it over, right? No problem. And now that you just destroyed the army like that, you have 2 options. One would be, do you want to push across the map and kill the Terran? Or two would be, do you want to defend your base? If you want to defend your base, again, you have a couple options right now, especially since now let's talk about defensive play, because you're playing Beta Gym style, and theoretically, if we're talking about Beta Gym style, you're not supposed to push until you're maxed out anyways, right? You want to be power spiking your army. So if you wanted to do this the best way you could possibly do it, you have two options to defend yourself, realistically, in a very efficient way. Number one, spotters, centralized army. Centralize your army in the middle of your base. Make a couple spotters. Make a stalker stand there. Make an observer, put on over surveillance mode right out here. Put another observer on surveillance mode right over here. Something like, do something to give yourself vision. Again, pylon is the easiest way to do it. It's super cheap. It's only minerals. It doesn't tie up your immortal production. It's good. Pylons are great. Pylons also give you the ability to where if you're actually like, oh shit, I didn't see him on the minimap, it goes, we're under attack. Day 9 will just yell, the pylon's gonna die. And then suddenly you're like, oh, thanks, Day 9. Now I know Terran's over there. Okay, cool. Thanks, Sean Plot. So pylons would be great. If you have spotters with centralized defense, that would be great, because then you always can be in the right position before it happens. Now, another way to deal with this would be, because you just denied his attack. So there's two parts to this, okay? The first one is you just scouted there's no third base again. You literally just scouted that. Now, you haven't scouted this one, so this one would be huge to scout as well. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if you feel like you're pacing the game better than your opponent, one way to figure that out is if you have more expansions than them. It means that as the game progresses, you're further ahead than they are. Another way to tell if the game is progressing in a way that you're ahead of your opponent is another situation that just happened right now. If your opponent attacks and fails, your opponent is literally running away with whatever's left over because he just failed an attack. He's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, no, we're not, protest is too strong. We are not breaking that right now. If you think you have control of the game, and this is a sign that you do, instead of having spotters, you can say, hey, select all army, attack right here. Green box half of it, go there. You can split your army up around the edges of your base, like guarding the newest bases that you need to be wary of. And then as you make more units, you just fill in the more units there. Like make a round of units over here, make a round of units over here, make a round of units over here, make a round of units over here. And if your Terran opponent decides to attack you on either side, you can tell that initial army there to maybe back up just a tad. Meanwhile, the rest of your army is on its way over to help, if your opponent goes for this big-ass attack on one of your bases. It's an easy way to not get fucked over by attacks that way. Or, let's say your opponent attacks you, and you look at the army of your opponent, and you look at yours, and you go, his is really small compared to mine. You don't have to select the army anymore. You could just green box whatever's here, and a move in the general direction of what is over there. But being able to read the game is a big part of this. Knowing that you're ahead, and when you are ahead, being able to have your army either with warning or spread out is how you need to play it out. So now you're getting Widowmine dropped in the main base. And I would say that obviously is super annoying for you. So here's the way you can deal with people who do this now. Make a cannon. Make one cannon. Make a cannon. Chrono boost your probes right now. The reason why I'm telling you to do that is because if you make one cannon per mineral line, it will forever prevent this from resetting itself over and over and over. You'll be like, because the fact that the Widowmines are still there, this means this could be a problem again in the next couple minutes. And you don't want to have this be a problem repeatedly. So if you made a cannon right now, right there, the Widowmines have already gone off. You just lost a bunch of probes. But it's okay. It's acceptable damage. It's not the end of the world. You can replace those probes like in the snap of a finger if you just chrono boost all 4 Nexus right now. And you got to realize it's acceptable to do that because your opponent just invested the last period of the game to go for an armory, to go for a Widowmine drop, and to make Widowmines as well to drop you. This is 10 supply he just invested into dropping you, and tech he also invested into doing it really early too, because he went for Drilling Claw Widowmines, or maybe he doesn't have Drilling Claw, but he actually doesn't have Drilling Claw, but he does have an armory, so he just made a bunch of fucking Widowmines essentially. That's fine. That's okay. That's an investment from the Terran, which means you can counter that investment to go, oh, you're investing into killing my probes? How about I invest into making probes? and you counterbalance it. Like he's here, and you just go, "Oop, let's go meet right back in the middle again," because I'll just make more probes while you invest to kill more probes, and that's fine. And then again, the cannons will give you detection to allow you to warp in units in the area to kill them if they're out of range of the cannon itself, because detection radius is bigger than attack radius of a cannon. Like attack radius of a cannon is about 7, and detection radius is about like 10 or 9. So you can see a lot further than you can shoot with a cannon. So if you warp in Zealot Stalker or whatever, you could easily kill the cannon, to kill the Widowmine with the cannon there. And then if the Widowmines drop like this, like they're in the mineral line itself, the cannon will straight up just kill the Widowmine because Widowmines can't hit buildings. So Widowmine is immune to damage. Even if a Widowmine shoots a probe right next to a cannon, a building doesn't even take splash damage from a Widowmine, so it's immune to dying to Widowmine. And then you could always just run your probes away, right? If you see that, you're like, oh, drop. Take probes, run away. He burrows them, Widowmine die to cannon. If he doesn't burrow them and he chases your probes, that's when you have your army come back and help your probes, because he's running away from the cannon, and your army is going to help as well, and that's fine. But definitely make cannons against this. If you don't make cannons, you're just making it harder for yourself. You don't have to make cannons in the future when you're really good at StarCraft, when you're like really comfortable multitasking. But for now at Plat, 100% make cannons against this. And because I would also expect that's not if this guy does it to you once, he's probably not just going to do it to you once. He's probably going to do it to you 5 times this game. So if you make cannons, that will make your life way easier. Now, again, this is the moment where I would say, again, chrono boost allocation, right? So you're doing what I would say is standard. I know I've told you to do this before, where it's like once you're done probing, go back to chrono boosting your forges. But if you just lost an entire mineral line, you could definitely chrono boost your probes again, just for a quick round, because you're no longer done probing anymore. Now suddenly the probing needs to happen again. So, if you don't do it, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to say, oh, well, that's going to make you lose the game. But it is an easy way you could have fixed the problem. And also, again, cannons. The biggest thing here is make a cannon per mineral line if you're not confident in your multitasking. Okay. And then now you definitely should be expanding again as well. And again, the biggest problem you have, going back to what I said before, is spotters. You need to have, if you're going to centralize your army like this, and you're going to always move it in one blob, you need spotters. You're so vulnerable to multi-prong right now, if without spotters. And there's another Widowmine, right? More Widowmines. Cannons definitely need to happen. Cannons need to be happening so badly. So imagine, what if you had spotters, for instance, and you would have saw this army before now, instead of like right as it's at your doorstep, what if you had a pylon right here? And you would see the army as it goes into this box. Like, say there's a pylon right there, okay? And the pylon can see that far. So how long is it going to take for the Terran to get within that green box? You'd see the Terran right about now. You see the Terran at 9:13. And how long? I feel like for Platinum this is pretty exceptional though. Yeah, I've actually coached her before. She's doing a good job doing B2GM overall. Honestly, yeah, Marilla's doing a great job doing macro focused, like overpowering the opponent. Like, you are taking fucking damage, and you are still maintaining a juicy ass supply lead, and you're on 4 bases fully saturated when your opponent's barely on a 3rd. Super good. It is really good. But again, it's about how to get better, right? So if you want to get better, if you had a pylon in this area, you could have been spotted, honestly, realistically, by probably like 9:12, maybe even 9:11. Like, if your pylon's right there, you'll honestly see a Viking by about now, honestly. You would see a Viking crossing into that pylon vision right about now. You'd see that, like, because the Viking is spotted based off of that circle, not based off of the graphic of the unit itself. Because it's actually there on the game, on the circle on the ground. So, you would see him coming, you would already see Terran movement at 9:12. Being like, oh, okay, Terran is in the area, over here, in this area right now. And then if you had a Widowmine, or sorry, let's say you made cannons, and you see Widowmines coming here too, you could take your probes and go like this. Hey probes, all of you go like this. Right click right here, shift, right click back to the mineral line. Forget about it. Cannon will kill the Widowmines over time. By the time the probes go down there and come right back, the cannon will have killed both Widowmines. Because you know what I think this Terran's doing? This Terran is probably move commanding his Widowmines into the mineral line and shift burrowing them while he's going to attack here, so he's not even microing these Widowmines. This is already premeditated, like automated micro. that is being told to do it across the map. Like, you see these lines here? He already told us to do it like 30 seconds prior. So he's not going to change the course of these Widow Mines. They're just going to do what they're going to do. So again, if you had cannons, suddenly it makes multitasking way easier. Just one cannon in the middle of each mineral line. So one cannon, one cannon, one cannon, and one cannon. And you just fucking own Widow Mines like crazy. And like I said before, if you actually spotted the Viking push like right now, and you also saw this, you could say, hey, oh, okay, we got a Widow Mine attacking my base up here because I had a pylon there as well, and I saw 2 Widow Mines walk right past that. And then I see an army walking past this pylon, an actual army, and it gets bigger over time. Medevacs are arriving, Vikings are arriving, Bio is arriving. 9:11 is when your pylon would have spotted that. And like 9:05 is when your pylon would have spotted this one. And it would have given you more breathing room to be like, okay, this guy's setting up an attack on me right now. I can see it happening way before it does. But you actually don't see this attack until 9:19. And at this exact same time at 9:19, you were trying to deal with the Widow Mines because he just burrowed in your mineral line. So you had no idea this was here. And not only did you not know this was here because you have no spotters, but your army was centrally located to defend this shit. Like everywhere, right? It was centrally located earlier, which is correct. But again, central location needs spotters because what you just did now is you just went over here to deal with the Widow Mines, which is they're already doing the damage they're going to do, and they're done now. And now your army is no longer centrally located. It is now completely opposite base located. You're on the other opposite base that is the other farther expansion. So you're at maximum walking distance to go back and defend this base properly. Which is going to only increase the chance that this base is going to get fucking owned. So again, you need spotters to not let this happen to you. For sure. You have to have spotters in some way. And then you just destroy the Terran again. Just due to sheer macro muscle. You have a macro. Your macro is way better than this guy. But if you just clean up the spotter situation going on, you're going to be so much better off. Like, even though you're taking damage, you would maintain you're already still like maintaining a lead. You'd be maintaining a massive fucking lead if you had spotters here and there. Like, this is not the same value as a pylon. If 1 or 2 pylons died here and there, and you had, as a result of that, instead of losing 60 units and 35 probes, if you only lost maybe 10 probes and only like 21 units, and let's say your resources lost went down to like 2,700 instead of 4,900, your army, instead of being 117, would be like 160 or like 150. You'd have just so much more in your army because you're losing less of everything. Less economy is dying, less gateways are dying, less units are dying, because you're also getting a position before he's like in a position too. Like, you're seeing him come before he is at the inside of your base. And then, yeah, these would, like, for real, they need those, so now you're overdoing cannons now. 1 cannon would have been enough. Just for early game. I would say 2 cannons and a battery is thumbs up, good to go, once you are maxed out. If you're 200 supply and you have bank to work with, yes, 2 cannons and a battery is amazing. But do not do it when you're at 128 supply. You're going to fall so far behind. Because now you're investing so much money into making static D on all your bases if you do that, and it's overkill for now. And you're another thing too is again, if your probes do die at some point in the game, again, if you've lost 38 probes now, chrono boost your probes. Drop the chrono boost on the new task of going for upgrades and re-chrono boost your probes again. Because if you don't do that, you're going to be trailing a crappy economy for a while now to where what it could be if you just fix your probe count faster. Like, as a general rule of thumb, if your probe count is anything below 74, chrono boost your probes. If it's above 74, if it's like 77, 79, 81, stop chrono boosting your probes. Because at that point, you don't really need to anymore, because 1 or 2 rounds of probes and you're done anyways from all your Nexus. But if you're below like 74 probes, chrono boost them, because it's guaranteed that you're going to get a full round of probe production out of your entire chrono boost, which is like 2 probes per nexus really fast, essentially. It's like 2 and a little bit more, but you get the point. You could like bounce back with like, if you have 4 nexus and you get like a little bit more than 2 probes per nexus, you get, let's just average off and say you get 10 probes really fucking fast. You go from 74 or like 72 to 82 like really quickly, and then suddenly you're back in the game. Like, oh, you just bounce back from the damage you just took super quickly. So make sure you're fixing your probes with chrono if this happens, because you didn't do it at all this game. You just never chronoed again after you started chrono boosting your upgrades. And then you're now once again centrally located with no vision again. You have no spotters. So you're just falling into the same trap repeatedly. And now let's watch and see the next time the Terran attacks you with exactly what happens first. So I love that you're taking a 5th base. I love that you're trying to macro still. You're fixing your economy. You're trying to make your build just flow better. Terran scans you. Now I'm going to let you know something right now. Anytime a Terran scans you as well, that is indicative of a timing attack that is about to happen. I can already assume the Terran's army is probably either right there or it's already right there. I would already assume that. Because a Terran player who scans like this is making sure that when he runs into this area, he's not just going to insta-die. That is Terran philosophy right there. You scan as you take the fight so you don't run into a shitty fight. And so if 3 seconds from now, I'm not going to be surprised if something either attacks you here or maybe even attacks you over here. Like, he's setting up an attack right now. It would make more sense that he's going to attack here, though, because he can see that he's not going to run to a bad spot. Because all he's done right now is he's confirmed your army is not there at the moment. But he might also send over a harass here, and he might really attack you over here again. He might do the same thing he did before. But you're about to get attacked. So it's better for you, comfort-wise, to know where he is by having your own spotters. So let's see the attack happening probably in a second here. I would not be surprised. He might also just be scanning you for composition, but I mean, that does happen. But it's very, very, very likely most times that's going to be an attack. And there you go, right? There's the attack right now. Here's the attack, and now your army is out of position. It's again, it's not even centrally located. It's a little bit further to the right of central location because you're overstacking the defense on the right side a little bit more. So now you're going to take more damage for like 2 more seconds now on this base, which might mean you might lose the Nexus. Or you might lose more probes or something like that. And then now your opponent's attacking you here as well. And this is a tiny army so far from what you've seen. It's not a huge army, but he's trying to multi-prong you. And I would say, again, spotting would help you. And then another way you could deal with this is you could defend your army, your main area with this right here as the main front of your army. And you could just go back here and warp in units to defend this. Warp in new units. Just be like, cool, I'll make a quick round of fucking zealots. Easy peasy. I'll make a quick round of stalkers. Just make one round of gateway warp in here. And then you easily defend a small attack like that while your main army defends an attack over here. That's the brunt of his army. Yeah, this is a very tiny army. It's like 2 Marines, 2 Marauders, and 2 Vikings, and 2 Medevacs. And I'm gonna watch your vision right there really fast. I want to see what you looked at during that fight. I just want to see what you're seeing. So you set up an A move, it looks like, right there. That's fine. You're macroing, you're chrono boosting. Okay, so what I would say is this is a cool technique you can do for yourself that is going to make you, because I already can guarantee you're not doing this, but if you do this, it's something that will make you grow as a player over time, and it will just help you in the long run against Terran specifically. It's going to help you in general in StarCraft overall, but Terran is the one who does this the most, and this is how you counter Terran gameplay the most. Every time, this is what your eyeballs should be doing, okay? Watch my mouse. Watch my mouse. This should be your eyeballs. Terran comes over to your base right now. You're doing what you go, oh, I'm getting attacked right now. You say, hey, army, select a lane move, attack in this area. Anywhere in this area, right? Because you need to attack the area. Now, I don't want you to micro the army that much at all, which is totally fine. You didn't. I don't think you microed very much because you went back to your base and you were kind of boosting your upgrades and shit. That's fine. Again, I want to make sure you know that I would have rather you chrono boosted probes again, but you're doing something with macro. That's totally fine. But think about it like this. Once you A-move this area, like you just did, that's going to do its thing. And then you're going to go back to macroing and doing your thing. But you know, the perfect way to counter Terran is the second Terran starts attacking you, you should start doing this with your eyeballs. Go like this. Watch my mouse. Go here. Look for a second. Just look at like, not only can you do two things with this. The first one is you can gauge how well the fight's going for you without even looking at the fight. You can be like, is his army running away? Is his blue blob turning smaller to my green blob? Like, is his blue blob overwhelming me? And if obviously if that's happening, you're probably going to die. And that just means you probably didn't macro enough because, again, this is Platinum League. And Platinum is really the general source of problems for you if you fall apart and die. So, and that's why this game, you're still in this game. Even though this guy has been fucking pounding you, you're still in this game because your macro is literally better than this guy's macro. So your macro is keeping you in the game pretty hard right now. But if you just watch the minimap, it gives you indication, again, on how the existing fight you already know is happening is going. But it also, like, watch, again, say you're macroing right now and take a quick glance at the minimap. Watch, like, your macro. Look at the minimap. Macro. Make sure your probes are being made. Look at the minimap. And you're like, oh, fight number 2, huh? I can make my other units. Because I'm actually paying attention to the minimap because I know for a fact that Terrans like to multi-prong. Terrans are never going to stop multi-pronging you. It's Terran game style. It's like the code of Terran to multi-prong. It's just how that race plays. And the reason why the race plays like that is because Terran units scale better in skirmishes. They actually scale worse in major army fights. Because Marine Marauder actually kind of suck against AoE. And if you allow a major army fight to happen, it only increases the chances you're going to get AoE'd. So Terran loves skirmishes. They don't like major fights as much as possible. Unless they have like EMP or some shit. But you get the point. Terrans are going to skirmish you all the time. They're always going to try and circumvent your base repeatedly. So always have an idea to look at the minimap during a fight. That way you can see things like this, and this doesn't become a problem that's about to happen. Where you lose a bunch of probes like this because you didn't notice it was happening. And I would say this. This is actually something that's kind of hard to understand, but this is a judgment call. If you ever find yourself in a position where your army should theoretically be maxed for the most part, which is right now, and it's not, attack him anyways. Go fucking attack him right now. And the reason why I say that is because this is actually when you should be attacking your opponent in a real game either way. The only reason why you're not is because you think to yourself, well, I shouldn't attack him though, Vi, because I'm not at 200 supply, right? But your army is not really going to get that much bigger than it is right now if you actually make probes properly. If you go all the way back up to like 85 probes, you're going to have barely any supply left over to make units with. So, if your opponent has been constantly attacking you and losing fights repeatedly, like this guy has been, if he has been losing fight after fight after fight after fight, a cool trick you can do for yourself, where if you're like, oh my god, this guy never stops attacking me, my probes keep dying, definitely remake your probes. 100% remake your probes. But take a second and mouse over the top right, and if your supply is over 110, go attack. And think about this for a second. If you made one more round of gateway units, which is 16 supply, you would be over 110. And you can afford it right now. You have enough probes as well to keep making probes, which is just fine. But if you just made a quick round of gateway units and you just went, you would have, quote unquote, your actual ideal max supply. That would actually be like the same thing as like your max supply army essentially. Because like 80 to 85 probes means you're going to have a supply of army that is going to be like 110 to like 150 or 120 to 115, something around there. And if you're already above 110, it would theoretically mean your supply would be like 195 or some shit. If that makes sense. If you also had 85 probes. So like you theoretically are maxed right now with your army, not your economy. And if your opponent keeps throwing army away to fuck your economy over, don't give him time to recover and make the difference. Just go attack now. Like, this would be a moment where you should just attack. And this is a unique example that says, again, I'm not trying to make this sound mean, it's just a fact. You have literally failed your defense. Your defense has been a failure. So, because you still have an army, but you keep killing his army after he kills all your probes. So this has been a failure, and if your defense has been a failure, you should just go fucking attack him, because you still have a maxed out army, you just have a shitty economy. So you can remake that economy while he now gets fucking destroyed on his base. So you gotta think about it like that. If you ever reach like 110 supply of army, just fucking go. Just go. Even if you're not maxed, because all you're going to do then is just waste time. It's the same thing as like being maxed out and sitting there for 2 minutes and then attacking. Because all you're doing is making economy, and you're doing nothing to increase the power of your army. So hopefully that makes it, like right now, see, you just made another run units. You're at 115. You need to fucking go like now. You need to already have been going now. And if you keep sitting here, you're just increasing the chances that you're going to lose, because you're allowing the Terran player who just threw away army after army after army to remake those armies and close the difference in supply of. It's not even just supply difference. It's army difference. Like, look at the army difference for you and him. He has 80. You have 117. And if you wait, you allow him to have to make the difference and get back up to a realm that is actually comparable to what you have. But again, your macro is destroying this guy. Like, I can clearly see you are actually a stronger player than this guy, because you have fundamentally stronger gameplay. All you got to fix is the ability to have spotters, literally. And this guy will no longer ever be able to beat you with the way he plays. And the fact that you're going now, I agree with it. It's correct. You're going to manhandle his army so fucking badly. And another thing to do too, at this stage of the game, something that's great for you to do, once you're like, there's two reasons to do this. The first reason, and what I'm going to say is make a dark shrine. The first reason to make a dark shrine is because your opponent is, you and your opponent are playing a macro game and you hit 200 supply and you're like, well, let's just make a dark shrine now because I can afford it. And it's always kind of nice to have one. That's one reason why a dark shrine would be nice. Another reason why dark shrine would be nice is because if something like this happens, where you ultimately find yourself in kind of a base trade situation where he's attacking you and he's just counterattacking, you're being forced to be like, God damn, this guy never stops counterattacking my base, and I'm out in the middle of the map right now and he's dropping my main. If you had a dark shrine right now and you warped in like 3 DTs right here, yes, he could scan it and he could kill it, but you could also, what if you warped in like 3 DTs and like 8 zealots? What if he doesn't scan it? What if he doesn't realize it and he doesn't scan it on time? And what if he's also currently dealing with your main army as well somewhere else, and those DTs end up killing his entire drop? That could happen, and it's amazing. Or what if it doesn't? What if he does scan it and he also fights your army over here or whatever, and he's like really good at the game? But then what if his scan ends and you do a second wave of DTs and zealots? And then what if he doesn't scan it the second time? Because DTs, no matter what, are going to wear him down, because one swipe of a DT kills a Marine regardless, no matter what. If you have weapon upgrades on your DTs, which you do, you have level 2 weapons, which makes a DT do 60 fucking damage, which is more health than a Marine has. And you're almost on level 3 weapons as well. You're working your way up there. But DTs would just be a great way to deal with bullshit like this. Because you don't got to warp in 20 of them. You warp in literally 2 or 3 of them. Just 2 or 3. And you could actually kill this entire army if the Terran player doesn't deal with it properly. And yeah, I mean, your army is just pounding his base, right? Imagine if you had a couple DTs here. Just imagine. Now your army's turning around. So, okay, this is there we go. I would say the fact that you microed this army ever again was bad. I think what you're doing is you're selecting all army and you're attacking with your zealots, and it's fucking up your main army. this is a moment where I would say green box. Just green box. Like green box micro defend your base and only do the selected army when you attack his base. The fact that you selected an army and went back home kind of just threw the game for you. You actually had the game won for a second there. Like you could have grouped your army up a little bit better on the right side. Your army was a little bit fucked up, but again, I don't want you to micro at all because it's platinum. You don't. I'm not even telling you you need to micro. You still had it won up until you started splitting your army up too hard. Like you even though it's split up really hard here, I would say you still have it won because you just have so much more power than he does. And imagine if you would have went even faster as well, right? You could have gone even faster than you did. But like right here, again, I don't want you microing this at all. Just A move, fucking select army A move. Your Immortals and Archons are going to do a lot of damage. And if your army stops trying to go home, I guarantee you push through his base and you kill him right now. Because look at his economy. He's got 50 minerals in the bank right now. He's got no income, and you're literally running over his base as we speak. And he doesn't have as much army as you do either. Like, he can barely produce units at the moment. So the chances of you breaking him are very high. Meanwhile, back at home, yes, he has drops on you, and you made zealots here, and I know that you probably told select all army zealots go down to my natural, or down to my third base to get rid of this, like that right there. But you just told your Immortals to turn around too, and that completely fucking ruined your attack. Because now your Archons and Immortal are dying up here without these guys being back. And then you split them up again, and these guys are just getting all fucked up. Like, this needs to just be attacking. And it does it again. So you're actually, like, staggering your army into bio now, and you're actually, if you had like 10 Immortals at once just pounding this would never group up. You would actually have the guy having a massive Protoss army killing little bits of Terran. But because you just staggered your army like crazy repeatedly, you allowed him to kill little bits of your army over and over and over and over, and it's actually making you throw the game essentially. So again, like at this stage of the game, if you just had DT, just new DT Zealot, go, okay, I just warped in 10 units, green box those 10 units, attack towards his medevacs. Just green box, no select all army. Your select all army was previously initiated to have your army go kill his base, and that never gets touched again. You're still making probes the whole time. The fact that you have lost 89 probes and you still have 67 to his 46, you are amazing at macro. Good job on your macro is fucking pumping. You're definitely proceeding to execute the BetaGM laws of BetaGM really well here. It's just that you're overdoing it with your army usage and what you're not only where you're placing your army for all the reasons we talked about earlier with spotter pylons and shit like that, but also the way you pulled back there. That should not have happened. You should just committed. And this guy, I would say right now would be, honestly, with the way this game is going, I would say you should attack him again. Just because this guy keeps throwing his army away repeatedly to try and kill your economy. But now he's dropping you again with another medevac, and I feel like it's just gonna, it's starting to overwhelm you. And I would say the same thing again. This is when new warpins, especially if you have DTs and zealots, like 2 or 3 DTs and the rest of your gateway is zealots. You could easily drop a round every time he drops you, and be like, oh, nice, nice 2 medevac drop of Marines. I got 3 DTs and 12 zealots. What's up? Marines can't do shit against that. The Marines will die so fucking hard against that. And again, you're not selecting an army. You're just warping in a new round and going green box, A move the area. And then you can grab those DTs and zealots and say, I can now have them select an army across the map if I want to with my other army. Or I could green box them and chase where the medevacs go. You could even be like, hey, DT zealot, put them on control 2. If your main army is on control 1, control 2 could be your base defense army, which has like DT zealot, does just, or maybe even blink stalkers that. But that's a bit more micro, right? Blinks, you have to blink and focus fire. You could just literally go, hey, 2, A move that area, because 2 is base defense. I just warped it in, and it still exists. Go over there, defend the new drop. Or if it's, let's say it's multi-prong drop. You could leave units here because the medevacs are still in the area. You're fighting a fight here, and another drop comes over here. Warp in another round of DT Zealot over here. It's okay to scatter your army around if he's also doing the same thing. And then you can group it up once that stage of the game ends, and then it can reset and happen again the next time. So when it ends, you could group up, A move his base, and then if he starts dropping you again while that happens, warp in new rounds of units to defend your base, just repeat the process. But yeah, no, for real, this game wouldn't have got to this stage, honestly, if you would have just had spotter pylons, and you could have denied so much aggression throughout the entire game. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. But Marilla, keep up the macro. It's honestly pretty ballin'. Your macro is definitely good. More than platinum, honestly. I think your macro is already at the stage where you're mostly ready for Diamond League. Just keep doing it. But I think you need to really work on your defensive setup, like being in the right spot at the right time and giving yourself the means to know that by having a spotter. Like, produce things that give you vision before they become a problem, before problems start happening, like when you have no time to react. And that'll give you so much more control in a game, I feel like, about how to play it. And then yeah, really like ease off on that select all army hotkey once you actually initiate a fight. Stop using it then, because you fucked yourself over twice this game by doing that with your earlier timing that would have literally won the game. That attack would have honestly won the game, but you staggered it by doing it. You fucked up the army 2 different times, and it staggered your army so hard that you ended up losing the army. But yeah, anyways, guys, hopefully you found this informative. Marilla, hopefully you found this informative. Thanks for doing it, and I will see you guys in the next replay analysis, coaching lesson, whatever it might be. Until then, take it easy, much love, and thanks for watching. Peace, guys.